Most men never see it coming. They think loyalty ends with cheating. But it doesn't. It begins long before that, in silence, small decisions, emotional distance, and subtle disconnections that most men never pick up on until it's too late. You see, when a woman starts to betray loyalty, it's rarely obvious. It's not dramatic, it's quiet. It hides behind normal behavior. Polite smiles, routine texts, casual affection. But inside, something has shifted. The emotional connection that once made her look at you with warmth now turns into emotional neutrality. You'll feel it before you see it. But most men ignore that feeling, and that's the first mistake. If you've ever been with a woman who slowly became colder, not angry, not distant, just emotionally unreachable, you've likely already seen what hidden betrayal looks like. It's the slow replacement of interest with obligation. She no longer gives her affection freely. She gives it out of duty, and when that happens, she's already halfway gone. Many men misunderstand what loyalty truly means to a woman. For a man, loyalty is mostly about action, staying committed, staying honest, staying faithful. But for a woman, loyalty is deeply emotional. It's about where her heart lives. You might still have her body, but not her heart. And when her heart starts to drift, her behavior changes in subtle ways. She stops being curious about you. She stops asking how your day went. She no longer argues with passion. She argues to escape. That's emotional betrayal. It's not that she's with someone else. It's that you're no longer the center of her emotional world. Now here's the part most men don't realize. Women don't wake up one morning and decide to betray loyalty. It's gradual, and sometimes it's a test. She begins to withdraw emotionally to see if you'll notice, to see if you'll rise to lead the relationship again. When you don't, she starts to convince herself that she's already emotionally alone. And once a woman convinces herself she's emotionally alone, she begins to justify betrayal. This doesn't always mean another man. Sometimes she replaces emotional connection with validation from social media, attention from others, or emotional escapism. Scrolling endlessly, watching videos about self-love, surrounding herself with people who tell her she deserves more. Slowly, her loyalty doesn't feel like loyalty anymore. It feels like sacrifice. Now listen carefully, because this is where most men fail the silent test. When a woman starts to pull away, your instinct might be to chase, to talk more, to fix it, to ask her what's wrong. But when you do that from a place of insecurity or desperation, you only confirm her emotional drift. You show her that your center depends on her approval, and nothing repels a woman faster than a man who has lost his grounding. So what's the alternative? It's awareness. Calm, grounded awareness. When you sense emotional betrayal, don't react. Observe. Women are emotional communicators, and when they begin to detach, it's often an expression of unmet needs. But your role is not to beg for attention or validation. It's to understand the shift and stand firm. A loyal woman's love deepens through respect. When she stops respecting you, she also stops feeling emotionally safe. And that's the doorway where betrayal begins. She starts seeking safety elsewhere. Not physically at first, but emotionally. That's why many men feel confused when their partner seems different without explanation. The truth is, she's emotionally processing your absence before physically leaving. Here's something powerful most men never hear. When a woman betrays loyalty, it's rarely about you not being enough. It's often about her unresolved emotions, her insecurities, and her silent disappointment that you no longer embody the energy that first attracted her. Think back to the early days, when she looked at you with admiration, when she wanted to be around you constantly. You were focused, calm, mysterious, purposeful. But over time, many men trade mystery for predictability and confidence for comfort. And when that happens, her feminine energy begins to rebel. This rebellion looks like withdrawal, irritation, and emotional distance. And before long, she starts seeking the feeling you used to give her, somewhere else. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Even women who betray loyalty still crave masculine grounding. She doesn't want to lead emotionally. She wants to feel guided, safe, and understood. But when you become emotionally reactive, she senses weakness. And weakness is unattractive. So if you ever sense her loyalty fading, don't confront it with panic. Face it with strength. This is the Stoic way. And it's why women are magnetically drawn to emotionally grounded men. When she feels your calm, she questions her chaos. When she feels your self-respect, she reflects on her behavior. And often, that's enough to bring her back emotionally without you saying a word. Now, don't misunderstand this. Some women will still betray loyalty no matter what you do. Some are driven by immaturity, emotional hunger, or deep insecurity that no man can fix. And when you meet those kinds of women, your job is not to change them. It's to recognize the signs and walk away before you lose yourself. Because the truth is, loyalty can't exist where respect has died. If she begins to betray loyalty in small ways, emotional flirting, hidden conversations, secret resentments, you must see it for what it is, a sign that she's no longer in alignment with your energy. And instead of clinging, you detach with quiet strength. That's how you maintain your dignity. And that's how you separate yourself from the men who beg for loyalty from women who have already checked out. And remember this, the best revenge against betrayal is not bitterness. It's evolution. When you grow into the man who commands respect, you stop worrying about who's loyal and who's not. Because loyalty stops being something you chase and becomes something you attract. And if you're still watching at this point, you probably understand exactly what I mean. You've felt that quiet disconnection before. You've seen her eyes drift while you were still talking. You've experienced the pain of realizing her love wasn't gone overnight. It faded slowly, while you kept hoping it would come back. But here's the good news. Once you understand the psychology of loyalty and emotional withdrawal, you'll never fall for it again. You'll recognize it early, stay composed, and keep your self-worth intact. And before we go any deeper into the second part of this video, remember this. If you're not subscribed yet, do it now. Because what we're about to explore next will open your eyes to the hidden behaviors women use when they begin betraying loyalty, and how you can see it coming before it ever happens again. There's something deeply unsettling about betrayal that isn't obvious. It's not the kind that screams or leaves evidence. It's the kind that hides behind kindness, routine, and habit. That's what makes it dangerous. Because when most women betray loyalty, they don't do it loudly, they do it gently, almost beautifully, until one day you realize you've been replaced in every emotional way that matters. So in this second part, I want to show you the hidden patterns, the small but powerful behaviors women use when loyalty begins to fade, and how to read them before it's too late. Let's begin. First, the quiet distance test. You'll notice she stops sharing her emotional world with you. It's not that she doesn't talk, she still does, but her conversations lose depth. She tells you what happened, not how she felt. This is the earliest sign of emotional withdrawal. And if you ignore it, it grows. Because for a woman, emotional sharing is connection. When she no longer feels safe to share her emotions, she begins building emotional walls. At first, you'll think she's just tired. Then you'll think she's just busy. But slowly you'll realize she's living an entire emotional life without you. And that's when betrayal starts. Next, she starts rewriting history. She'll bring up the past differently, not to connect, but to justify her growing resentment. She'll say things like, "You never really understood me," or "We've always had problems." When she says that, it's not just frustration. It's emotional distancing through narrative. She's rewriting your shared story in her mind to make detachment easier, so she can betray loyalty without guilt. Now, listen carefully, because this is where most men fail. When she starts doing this, Many men go into defense mode. They try to fix the narrative, argue, prove her wrong, but that doesn't work because what she's doing isn't logical. It's emotional self-protection. The more you defend yourself, the more she feels justified in her detachment. So instead of arguing, stay calm. Respond with presence, not proof. That silence will tell her something her emotions can't, that you are not moved by her emotional chaos. Then comes the substitution stage. When a woman begins to betray loyalty, she doesn't always go to another man. Often she replaces you with something that fills the same emotional space: attention, validation, social media, friends who always understand her. She starts dressing differently, not for you, but for how others make her feel. She's not cheating physically, she's cheating emotionally. And this form of betrayal hurts most because it's invisible. You can't point to it. You can't prove it. You just feel it. You feel the gap between you growing wider, not because of fights, but because of silence. Now let's talk about one of the hardest truths most men overlook: the betrayal of comparison. When a woman starts comparing you to other men, subtly, indirectly, or even in her thoughts, loyalty is already cracking. It could sound innocent. Maybe she says, "My coworker listens so well," or "I wish we did things like that." These are not compliments. These are emotional clues. She's emotionally benchmarking you against another man. That comparison is how she justifies emotional infidelity. She tells herself she's not doing anything wrong, while secretly fantasizing about emotional experiences she wishes she had with you. And here's what makes it dangerous. When she starts emotionally comparing, she begins to detach respect. Without respect, loyalty dies slowly, painfully. Now I want you to pay attention to the next part, because it's where strong men separate themselves from reactive ones. When you notice these shifts, the distance, the substitution, the comparison, your instinct might be to demand loyalty, to remind her of everything you've done. Don't. Loyalty can't be forced. It must be earned. But not through effort, through energy. When you act from strength, when you maintain self-respect and emotional calm, you don't ask for loyalty. You inspire it. Women feel drawn to that kind of stability because it reminds them of masculine grounding, something they deeply crave, especially when their emotions are unstable. Now, some women, and I'm going to be honest here, don't want stability. They crave emotional chaos. They feel alive in drama. They sabotage calm energy because peace feels too unfamiliar. These are the women most likely to betray loyalty, not because of you, but because of their inner turbulence. They chase excitement over emotional safety. And if you're an older man watching this, you've probably seen it firsthand. The kind of woman who can't stand peace for too long. She'll create problems, disappear emotionally, and then act like nothing happened, as if chaos is her language. You can't fix that. You can only recognize it early. Because here's the truth. Love without loyalty isn't love. It's attachment. And most modern relationships are built on attachment, not loyalty. Attachment says, "I need you to feel complete." Loyalty says, "I choose you even when I don't need to." And that's what most men forget. A woman who's truly loyal doesn't betray because of temporary emotion. She stays because of deep respect. So how do you know if a woman is still loyal? It's simple. She's emotionally consistent. She doesn't change her warmth based on mood. She protects your name in rooms you're not in. She doesn't flirt for validation or weaponize silence. That's real loyalty. Everything else is performance. Now let's go deeper into the psychological side of female betrayal. When a woman betrays loyalty, she doesn't always feel like she's doing something wrong. Emotionally, she's often in self-defense mode. She convinces herself that you changed first, that you stopped making her feel desired, that you became distant. In her mind, betrayal becomes a form of self-justification, a way to reclaim the validation she feels she lost. That's why confronting a disloyal woman with logic never works. She's not reacting to reason. She's reacting to emotion. the feeling that she lost something within herself when she lost connection with you. This is why the strongest move a man can make is not revenge, not anger, but detachment. When you detach calmly, you break her emotional control. You stop feeding the cycle of guilt, validation, and blame. And often, that's when the truth surfaces, because silence reveals what emotions try to hide. Let me tell you something every wise man learns too late. The way a woman handles conflict tells you how she'll handle loyalty. If she betrays your trust when she's upset, she'll betray your loyalty when she's bored. If she seeks attention elsewhere when you argue, she'll seek validation elsewhere when life gets routine. So don't just look at how a woman loves you when things are good. Look at how she behaves when things are uncomfortable. That's where loyalty lives or dies. And finally, the hardest part to accept: you can't make someone loyal. You can only be the kind of man who commands it. That means becoming emotionally self-sufficient. That means valuing peace over attention. That means walking away from women who show small betrayals early, instead of waiting for the big one to confirm what you already knew. Because once you've seen emotional betrayal clearly, you'll never unsee it. You'll start recognizing the tone change in her voice, the way her texts lose warmth, the way her energy feels different even when she says everything is fine. And in that moment, you'll realize something powerful. Her behavior doesn't define your worth. It defines hers. The strongest men don't react to disloyalty with bitterness. They respond with clarity. They know that peace is priceless, and loyalty isn't something to beg for. It's something to protect once it's earned. So if you've been loyal to the wrong woman, don't let it harden you. Let it awaken you. Because the man who learns to see loyalty clearly never gets fooled again. And if you made it this far, let me tell you something. You're the kind of man this channel is built for. A man who seeks truth, peace, and understanding. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because every week, we reveal the hidden truths of relationships and the psychology behind what women really do.